Good morning, everybody. I am Rana Massoud. I am an Erasmus student between University of Genoa, Italy, and Queen Mary University of London. I'm working on driving data analysis toward eco-driving. I begin by highlighting the need of serious game in transportation sector. Then I presented the goal in improving the driving style with serious game. I present the system architecture, the data, the model. Finally, I briefly conclude the work. You probably already know that a human driver has significant impact to reduce fuel efficiency, since fuel consumption is highly affected by how we drive. An aggressive driving style is characterized by the highest levels of fuel consumption against a calm or normal driving pattern. Do you know that we can save up to 25% of fuel by adopting efficient driving pattern up in the study? But how to? We all need for the, motivation. As you know, motivation can lead to positive involvement. Here's the need to continuously motivate the driver toward eco-driving, how to improve his driving style. A way to do that is with gamification. Gamification has emerged in the automotive industry for its motivation inspiring potential. Typically, human has innate desire to win. Gamification leverages people's natural desire to state achievement and competition. It relies on fun to motivate the player using different virtual reward systems such as badges, score, or reaching a higher level. Here, with gamification, we can guarantee the player engagement and a willingness to return back to play. What I'm presenting here is a model pluggable into serious game toward encouraging the driver to improve how they eco-drive. What is serious game? Serious game presents a potential, significant potential for training and learning more than pure entertainment, aiming at user motivation and behavior improvement. While playing, we pay attention to the guidance from the game. We get feedback such as score and how to reach a higher level. Here we activate the learning. Serious game, we can say it's a joint of gamification, e-learning, fun. Why do we need serious game in transportation sector? Studies have relied on serious game to motivate the driver toward a safer and efficient driving style. We all have the desire to win and to beat other peers. And with gamification, player can get the chance to be a leader and how they eco-drive. In-car sensor data could be accessed through a universal interface called the OBD2. It is the onboard diagnostic interface. The most recent one is the OBD2. As you can see here, it is the OBD2 adapter. Could be plugged into the OBD connector. It is located under the driver's seat. You can find it easily under the dash. We can plug this OBD adapter inside this, and via Bluetooth, we can get in-car sensor data. Here you can see the system architecture. It could be integrated in other peers. Why plug the OBD2 adapter inside the car? We can access in-car sensor data. This could be sent via Bluetooth to the smartphone of the player and get notification how he or she can improve his driving or her driving style. For our experiment, we have relied on naturalistic driving data. We have relied on the empirical platform. It is an open platform for gathering naturalistic driving data. It's It's use OED standard adapter plugged inside the car, and this data could be sent to the EnviroCar application or smartphone together with GPS location and timestamp. Then this data could be sent to EnviroCar server. On their server, they estimate fuel consumption and CO2 emission, and they send this data to EnviroCar website. We can access it free, it's open. And the user can also log into EnviroCar website if he has the EnviroCar application to see his data. To have this, some of this data locally, we have built a Java project that requires EnviroCar REST API servers for HTTP request. Then we work on this JSON, parse this JSON, and have it in relational database for querying purposes. And we can analyze this data. More other data like country name to know for spatial data analysis, we have used the Google Map API for reverse geocoding. Here you can see the methodology of the model. The model can provide a driving recommendation. It is real-time driving recommendation. By getting the value of throttle position, RPM, engine speed, and car speed. A car jack is estimated because it's not provided by the OBD2 protocol. It is a variation of acceleration. We have the car speed and we calculate the longitudinal acceleration. From there we can get the car jack. When non-equal driving events are detectable, we can provide driving recommendation. And for driving style report, we record the number of maneuver events. Moreover, the model can provide typical driving classification. The driver could be classified as safer, typical, or careless. For doing this, we have relied on fuel efficiency and throttle position. I will talk later why we involve the throttle position. Here you can see the instant non-equal driving event detection. For the throttle position, it's ranged from 0 to 100%. The more press, the more fuel and air would be injected into the engine. And the more press, the more fuel, and the driver is careless about the fuel. So, for example, we will provide recommendation in case between it's the value of the PS range between 60 and 100. For example, release the accelerator better recovery. For the RPM and eco driving, it is recommended to be between the range 2,000 and 3,000 revolution per minute. In this case, we can provide this recommendation to stay less than 3,000 RPM. For speed, car speed, it is quite challenging because it changed, as you know, driving on freeway, not like driving on urban road. So we have relied on ASM to request the maximum speed, maximum legal speed. So if the current speed equal to the maximum speed, we provide the recommendation: be careful, as overspeeding, slow down. For the chair, we have relied on a study that shows that a comfortable driving should be between the range -4 and 3, and as we provide a recommendation, avoid forced acceleration or sharp acceleration, it is minus. After a drive, we classify the driver, as I said earlier, between careless or safer, and an eco-driving profiling fuel efficiency through its the score to evaluate the driving style. But we believe that during a drive, many impact affect driving style. For example, if we be in a traffic light or encountering a pothole. Those we have imposed throttle position because it is highly affected by driving style and representing his preferences and affects strongly the fuel economy. So for throttle position, we get a score. If it is, for example, 100, it is at a moment, throttle position, it is 60. The score, it would be at that moment 40. For the fuel efficiency score, we have relied on this algorithm, comparing the fuel efficiency for a car, for a driver with the same car with other driver who is driving the similar car. If getting less than other driver, it will get, for example, the highest score because it is avoiding figuring out the maximum fuel efficiency for every car model.
That's assuming you want 3 minutes of questions.
I just finished. It's concluded.
Oh wow.
The driver has significant margin to increase the fuel efficiency. The need, I highlight the need for seriously in transportation sector to motivate the driver. I presented a pluggable serious gain mechanism for smartphone. It is in the early development phase. It could be integrated in third party. And thank you.
Okay, we have 7 minutes for questions. I have a question if nobody else does.
Yes, sure.
This is very cool. I wonder how much you've been thinking about the privacy of the driver. So you said that you have some things on your app and you have some things that are going into the cloud.
Yeah.
So how do you decide what kind of information goes into the cloud and how much do you keep on the app?
What I'm working for the data, for example, the Enviro car, they present this data, it's pseudo-anonymized. They don't give information. This data that I have, they don't give information about the driver. What we have is the ID of the car and information for the car. For login on the website, you can get credential and you can see your access. What you can see, it's like the truck with the data, no information for the driver. Otherwise, no one will provide the data.
Yeah. Okay. Other questions?
So, could you see doing this in a simulated environment as opposed to like on the real road? Because if you have dangerous drivers, you want to teach them to be safe drivers before they're like doing more dangerous driving on the real world. How would that change the model?
You mean to have it offline before?
Well, so you got a device that you're going to plug in and you're going to give feedback to the drivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to gamify that somehow.
Yeah.
So could you see doing this in like a simulated environment, like they're doing some kind of VR or computer interface? Because, you know, if they're dangerous drivers, you want to intervene before they're out on the road doing dangerous behavior again.
Actually, we're still in the modeling phase, but I really don't know if we can do it offline, but we really need to test this in real time. But if he's driving and getting this recommendation, he's gonna change his behavior. Why to do it offline? You mean?
All right.
The importance of real-time recommendation.
At least to me, it sounded like the focus here was on really looking at the performance being generated by the car, and they're sort of creating an API for that. So teaching people to drive is a separate question.
Yeah, while driving.
There could be an application for drivers' schools
Yeah.
to try to be proactive in getting students to know before they actually are on the road as full-time drivers how to be as environmentally conscious as possible.
It could be integrated in serious game. We are looking for some collaboration for that. I'm still in the modeling phase. Let's see if we can do it.
How do you see the feedback to the driver? And can you comment on how safe that would be in the car? So if you delay your feedback too much,
Yeah.
like an hour later or something when they finish their really long drive, it might be less effective. But if you give it to them straight away, it might be more distracting and dangerous as they're trying to drive.
Yeah, there are a lot of study for providing many recommendation and all time reading text about the recommendation about advice could be distract the driver. Yeah, yes, indeed. But for this we provide like audio, and in case only he is doing inefficient driving style, like not providing you are good now, not good, just in case events are detectable.
So it's audio based, it's like a backseat driver.
Backseat driver, while he's driving, he can get this notification.
Sure.
Yeah, not all time, just check what I'm doing right now.
Who's the second speaker? Okay, could you get your computer attached while we have one more question? Because I need to waste time.
No,
It's better than the iPad. So,
Let's go 15 minutes. Yeah.
okay, yeah. All right. You guys don't mind if it's 15 minutes? You're all for more recoveries, right? So, okay. All right. And now I have to remember how to make this advance because I never do this. All right. So the talk, the main part here is the black part in the middle. But I'm going to talk about some crazy stuff at the beginning and give you some science behind what we were trying to do. And then I'll talk about the actual results. And then as the last speaker said, my talk is so much like the last speaker's talk. The discussion is the important part, but who knows if we'll get there. All right, so what are public goods? So the idea, there's something called a public goods game, which is played by economists. So they put people in a room. Unlike psychologists, they do not trust it if people don't know exactly what's going on. So you have to pass a test showing that you understand the rules. And the rules are simple. There's 4 people, they're on computers so that they don't know who they're cooperating with. And they're given 20 tokens, right? So like, you know, poker chips, but they know how much money it's going to be. And they prorate it so that you're playing for like a day's wages instead of half an hour. So you're trying to do that, but you're playing with poker chips so that in every country you're thinking similarly. And basically you're told at each round, here's 20 poker chips, you know what they're worth. If you put them into the pool, then I'm going to multiply what's in that pool by 3, and then I'm going to split it between the other 4 people. So I'm the magic experimenter, and I'm telling you, this is like if you pay for a bridge or something and the whole community benefits. Okay, so this is called a social dilemma, because if you think about it, obviously the way to make the most money, and if you're from Northern Europe, this is probably the first thing that jumped into your head, is that oh, we should just all put all our money in because then we get 3 times as much money, right? You know, as a pool. But actually, for every token you put in, you only get 3/4 of a token back, right? So the optimal thing for you is if you don't put anything in, and the other 3 people all put all their money in. You make even more money that way. Okay. Now, of course, they won't do that, and that's where cooperation gets interesting. Okay, but this is the definition of altruism. And back when people first started playing this game, they actually thought that nobody would put any money in because they were losing a little bit of their money when they did that. And then they were wrong. So it turns out that people put half their money in. It looks like they have no idea what they're doing, and they do half, and they keep half, right? There's some weird heresy that's happening. So then they commented, so well, what if we do it again? And they played over and over, and they said, oh, look, it's crashing. And this doesn't explain it. But if we introduce something called punishment, then it sustains. All right. Now it looks like it's going up to me, but the economists call that sustaining. And the point is that what punishment is that I pay 1 until I still don't know who I'm playing, but I say that guy who only gave 3, I want to punish them, and then the experimenter takes 3 away for every 1 that I pay to punish that guy. Okay. So I skipped this slide, but I'll just say very quickly, this doesn't actually ever go through 0. That if you let them play 40 rounds, the start and the end are the same, and just the slope changes. So people are strange. I don't have time to explain all of that. But the thing I'm more interested in was that I knew, as somebody who'd been working on the evolution of cooperation, you don't need punishment to get cooperation. And then I read this great paper by these colleagues, Benedict Herman and Tony Gaker, that showed that if you go around the world, remember that comment I made about Northern Europe, Almost everyone, the funny thing is that Benedict Herman had worked in Russia and didn't believe Russians would punish because they seemed to let their government get away with anything. But he was wrong. It turns out everybody will punish those who don't contribute to the public good. But what he was right about was that Russians are interesting and a bunch of other people too will punish those, well some people, this is Greece, this is Athens, this is Muscat, seem to punish everyone. And certainly there's a bunch of people that punish those who give more than they do. So this is people that give that punish how much you'll punish someone who doesn't invest as much as you do, and this is how much you punish people who invest even more than you do. All right? So we have a big question here, which is why would anybody punish someone for giving them money, right? For putting more into that public pool, which gave them money, right? And then the second question is, why does this vary by global region? And what it seems to be is that, so the original stuff that they tested with was just this sort of smaller region, but they've gone to more countries now, and it really looks like the lower your GDP, which is correlated with the lower your rule of law, the more people are likely to be punishing you. Now in my group, this is a really quick aside and also an unpublished paper. I'm going to skip through this because I think I've wasted too much time. I want to just get to this. So those were the endpoints. The first round, the last round, people are weird in those. But what's going on here is that the pink is a bunch of people don't punish at all, especially in America. They're kind of free riding, they're not bothering, right? But these are people that all the way through all rounds, they only punish people who gave less than they did. And the purple is people that just punished whether you gave more or less, right? And this awful top color is people who only punished those who gave more than they did. But remember, there's 4 people in the group. So to me, that just looks like, okay, if you were the one who gave the least, then of course you can only punish those who gave more than you did. So I think there's only 3 strategies here. I think what's going on is that some people basically don't care about other people. But a lot of what's going on with the antisocial punishment is actually that you're just punishing everyone. Okay, so let's ask this question about when is it that you should invest in the public good? How do you decide whether you should be invest in public good? And actually, that's a trick question. There's no single solution. All right. So, I took off the equation, and there's no markers, right? Okay. So there's actually a marker, an equation, which is that you're willing to pay. The biologist has shown that you're willing to cooperate. You're willing to pay a cost if it benefits others. If the benefit to others outweighs the cost to you, considering how much the others are like you. Okay, so are you cooperating on cooperation? So basically, you could be investing in yourself, you could be investing in others, and you have to trade those things off. And what we think is going on is that in a good economy, you think, oh, this is a good time to grow the pie. I'm going to do better if we all do better. And in a weak economy, you might feel safer if you just focus on yourself. And that's when you start fighting for a bigger slice of the pie. Does that make sense? I just said a lot of stuff, but I think so there's 2 different things going on. And as that sort of indicates, is that, yeah, we have a paper in archive, but don't worry too much. So the idea is that, you're growing the pie, you do that by punishing people who aren't contributing to your group, and when you're trying to grow the slice, you wind up punishing everyone but you. Okay, we think that's what's going on. So, I don't want to talk about this either, I'm taking too much time. But this is an important second question, which was the implicit. So I don't know if you guys saw this paper we had a couple of years ago. I've obviously condensed a longer talk. But there was a thing that was a big deal that we showed that in artificial intelligence, you get the same sexism and racism that you get from people in something called the implicit bias task. All right? So the implicit biases are how fast can you push a button to connect women with career words and men with family words versus the other way around. And in an ideal world, who would care if it was male or female, but in fact, it's easier to push a button faster if it's male with career words and women with family words. Okay, so that's called implicit bias because the people who do that, if you ask them, they say, no, women should have the same jobs, have the same opportunities as men, and the same thing is happening with racism and things like that. So it's called the implicit bias, but one of the things that once you have it, you've shown AI has it, that you can start measuring it more carefully. And we actually showed that the same, racist, sexist word embeddings that matched human implicit behavior also matched certain facts about the real world, like these are jobs and what proportion of people had it. So what that made us sort of realize, and I don't know why this is like something you get in AI, but that the implicit behavior seems to be bootstrapping off of the real world. It's showing what's out there. And the explicit behavior is the stuff that can help us go forward with our plans. For example, cooperation. So now to rephrase the question I had back at the beginning, what we actually want to do is, we know, like I said, the people who play that game, the public goods games, they all know the rules. They don't get to do it unless they understand how they could be making money, right? So explicitly they get it. But for some reason, they don't play the way they understand. They don't play to maximize the outcome in many countries. And so the question is, how can we help reach those people? And one of the things we thought was, if we used a serious game, then you would train up your implicit, you would train up your implicit behavior. So you would basically start feeling like, I want to do this. Because you'd start really understanding. It wouldn't just be something in paper and pencil. So but the serious game, because you're so embedded in it, would change your priors, basically. And then your emotional response would be better. So that was the idea. So we're trying to help them understand that there is such a thing as a non-zero-sum game, which a lot of people in some of those more deprived areas, economically deprived areas, don't believe. They think everything is zero-sum. And help them also understand that they aren't stupid, that sometimes you can overinvest in public goods. So it's not about all maximizing, all minimizing. It's about getting the right balance. And so we want to help them to be able to detect situations where it's a good time to collaborate, like when you're playing the STEM lab experiment. Okay? So what we did was we built something that was basically a God's eye game. So you have a top-down situation. We call it the sustainability game because it's actually based, again, on biological simulations. So these guys have to run around, they're trying to find food, and if they cooperate with their families, they can build little houses and they have a better chance of living it over the night. And then if they cooperate with together, they can build these bridges and get access to even more food. But what happens is that sometimes there's floods and the bridges get washed away, so it's not a good time to build a bridge. Okay? So that's the basic idea, and when I say we, I mean him. This is Andreas Theodorou, who actually wrote the game, and he spent a lot of time on it, and nevertheless managed to get a good postdoc. He's now at, I can't say the Umeå University in Sweden. It turns out that the Swedes, Umeå, right, the Swedes pronounce the A with the angstrom differently than the Danes do, so anyway. So the little agents, which we called Sperducci because one of our collaborators was Romanian, we were trying to get him engaged in the game. They can invest time in themselves by eating, and if you don't do that, then the game is over, right? You have to spend some time investing in yourself, right? And invest in housing. Again, if you don't have a house, actually they won't have sex unless they're in a house. So then again, the game is over because they all die if there's no children. And then without the bridges, actually you don't need the bridges, but you can have a larger community if you have the bridges, okay? So the game's goal depends. We actually let the people choose what they want. They can make it to try to keep the population alive for as long as possible, or to maximize their average life expectancy, minimize infant mortality, maximize the number of agents that are alive. They get to choose their goal. But all of these things, they have to think about how is the interaction between those goals. So the question is, if you play this game for 30 minutes, does it help you do better in public goods investment? All right? And the control we used in our experiments was playing Tetris. Okay? And then so one of our hypotheses, which we knew going in, this is what we were hoping, as I already described that to you, so I want to explain it again. But we also were aware of, there was some research that says, it seems like the more you know about altruism, actually the less altruistic you are. So people with theology degrees and philosophy degrees don't tend to be that, or economics degrees are less invested in public good than psychologists, for example. So So we weren't really sure which was going to happen, but we really didn't. We guessed wrong. We tested with a bunch of different games, and just a couple examples. So what's going on here is also, because this was run by grad students and something weird happened, there's two extra conditions, which was you're supposed to be playing with an anonymous partner, and had we only done that, then our results would have been universally positive. Okay, so you can see this massive improvement between the treated condition and the control for anonymous partners, which is the only thing that the economists ever look at. But I did this with psychologists, and the psychologists thought, oh, let's just have the players sit across from each other. So these gray ones are where you're sitting across from the person you're playing with, all right? And so anyway, what you see there is that actually got worse. So that competitive thing seemed to happen when they're playing with each other. But if they don't know who they're playing against, then they did indeed learn to cooperate more, in fact, as much as the other guys did with the identical partner in the control condition, which we had not expected that at all. So we're having trouble publishing this in psychology journals because they want us to go back and tease all this stuff apart. And we're like, well, the economists kind of knew this, but anyway, whatever. So yes, it increases cooperation with anonymous partners, increases competitiveness with identified partners, and it doesn't seem to be, I didn't even tell you about some of the other this is again about explicit stuff, like what do you think you should do, and it didn't seem to change that at all. Okay, so we do seem to be operating at the implicit level, which is what we were trying to do. So the main thing you can conclude from this is that games, this is I should just diss her, but she's great. She did a lot of analysis and things in whatever. So playing a sustainability game does alter cooperative behavior for the good in the standard behavioral economics analysis conditions. Engagement in the game alters the default strategy, maybe, it seems to. We accidentally also replicated this known result about competitiveness with identified others. I said I would talk about discussion. I don't really have time. I just want to say quickly that AI is a form of communication, and you expect to change group level. This is known, again, from biology, that you expect the group level investment will be different in a society with more AI. And also wonderful with the second that you have to think about how you design systems. We have real-time debugging for doing complicated agents like these, but again, I don't have time. But I will just say, if you don't have a PhD and you're looking for one, we just got money from the British government to help think about this sort of stuff. So thank you. And sorry for packing that together into that amount of time. How much time do I have left for questions?
Let's have a quick question, and it's coffee break, and then there'll be all the time in the more questions.
Okay.
At the beginning of your slides, you had a few plots about the punishment and non-punishment results.
Yeah.
And it seems that the trend is not kind of stabilizing. So, how sure are you about this?
Oh, yeah, that's super interesting, and it's a totally different topic. But I wish I don't have those slides on here. But I think what's going on there is that, here, you're talking about this one? Is this the one? Yeah, so this is like actually one of the biggest known results, and the, let me get that's the one you were talking about, right? So, what I wish I had this other slide with me, which is, if you look at all those different countries, if you look at these different countries, the ones that have a lot of competition, they don't have those lines going up or down. They just have flat lines, right? So they don't actually change the amount of investment. When they get the extra punishment, then they actually lose money overall because they spend it all on punishing each other. But what's really super interesting is that the Far East countries, like Korea and China, and for some reason Melbourne, when they start playing in the punishment condition, they actually start. They also start at 10. They start at just random, but they find this gradient up to high cooperation. Whereas in Northern Europe and Boston, which is the only American thing there, as soon as they hear that there's going to be punishment, they all start cooperating more. So it's like they know the police are there, right? Whereas in Asia, they find out, oh, look, now the system is affording us to cooperate more. So what is going on in the Middle East, and Greece and Turkey and the former Soviet Union? Why can't they find that reward structure? Well, it seems like the reward structure doesn't exist for them because of how many people are engaging in just competitiveness. So the signal isn't as strong.
What is the confidence level that you have for these results within a certain interval of values that you get for these kind of results? That's
well, these are like this was again in science. This was like thousands of people, and it is replicating. Like I said, it is correlating pretty well with GDP and rule of law. So it doesn't seem to be a random chance thing, even though it's not well explained. And that is why, if you're really interested in this part, I recommend not this. You can have a look, and we've just got some really brilliant new results in this too. But we've done some modeling. So no one has been able to explain previously. There's another fundamental thing, which is it turns out that when you have very high wealth inequality, you also have very high political polarization. And so we think the political polarization is similar. It's this thing about not trusting the other group, and that you're making a heavy investment within group, but you have a narrower idea of what your group is. And that might be part of why you see this behavior, is that people who are playing in an anonymous condition in a place that's very competitive basically don't believe that just because they've been thrown into this game, they're playing together. Whereas if you're at Harvard, you look around the room and say, oh, we're all at Harvard, and you feel like an in-group immediately. So it's part of what might be changing is just what you consider to be, who you consider to be your in-group, how trusting you are. So that might be what's going on. So McCarty is like literally the political scientist will be one of the ones who's been working on this with this data for 40 years. And then I roped in this biologist who's like a very young guy but super hot shit, Royal Society fellow, blah, blah, blah. So not fellow, university fellow, those ones that get the 10-year whatever. So I think we're going to solve that problem, and I think these things are all brought together, but probably at a games conference isn't the right time. But go ahead and have a look at the archive paper, or wait a month. I think it's going to update and be really cool in about a month.
I don't see any reason why we need to rush, actually. There's no it's till 10:30 on the schedule. So
yeah, no, I know. Well, we could have one more question, but also I'm supposed to be catching a flight, and my husband's waiting at the Mile End.
That's just let me steal the last question.
Sure.
So may not the motivations of players be completely orthogonal to all types of measurement you're talking about here?
Yeah.
So they may be responding to an emotional impulse, to an impulse that defies sort of quantification.
Yeah.
And so, in a sense, what you're doing here is measuring the noise around that impulse.
Well, I think so, but the whole point is that the emotional stuff should change. Sorry, now my husband's trying to call me. So now we're trying. I think you're right, and I don't think it's noise though, because I think given that we have this intervention, that we are able to adjust what that emotional noise is. So I think there's some kind of, that's exactly what we're trying to explore and tear apart. But I would really rather have done this, and now that we have the game written, I would rather have done this with consolidation, so have them play it for like a week, and then like a month later see if they invest differently, see what we're really changing. Because one argument is we're just priming this stuff for these guys, right? So there's other ways I would have played out this whole thing. But anyway, such is life, and we still have the future's still there. But I think you're probably right. Okay. All right.